If is a charming movie that reaffirms the fundamental themes of the story with a very happy ending. The main character of If is B, a young child who learns she can see imaginary friends or ifs. B works with her neighbor Cal, who can also see ifs, to divert her attention while her father gets ready for surgery. Cal has been working diligently to find new homes and children for the ifs to bond with. The universe of ifs and how they connect into the larger world are explored in John Krasinski's family movie sequel to A Quiet Place. At first glance, the film looks to be about getting the colorful cast of If out of their retirement home, which was established by one of the oldest ifs in existence. But the real message of the movie is far more sentimental and centers around happiness and self-actualization. The movie examines the value of creativity during difficult times and even reveals its biggest twist at the very beginning. Here are some thoughts on the film's emotional and thematic resonance, as well as how the film's delightful conclusion suggests a possible sequel. In the final moments of If, B and Cal share a tender farewell as they embrace before B departs New York City with her father. B's father is in the hospital for surgery for a large portion of If. The procedure is successful even though there is a significant scare at the end of the movie. This forces B and her father to leave New York City, but as they pack everything into the car, B spills the beans on a childhood painting she created of her parents, herself, and her imaginary buddy Calvin, who has always been Ryan Reynolds. If character calendar when B realizes at last that their connection is real. She runs back upstairs and manages to trigger her memory so she may see Cal once more. At the end of the movie, Cal welcomes B with a balloon flower, and, dressed now in even more vibrant clown attire, they embrace. It's a very touching scene that explains many small details about Cal's involvement in the movie, while also echoing the main themes of the movie. Although B and Cal do part ways in the film's conclusion, it is evident from the themes that this isn't necessarily the last time they will see one another. The idea that imaginary companions can remain significant to people even as they get older is one of the subtexts of If. Even if the ifs are invisible, they might nevertheless be comforting during difficult or stressful situations. This implies that Calvin could come back to assist B if she needs it. B's grandma still resides in New York, even if Calvin stays there. This would make it possible to see Calvin's flat upstairs during any visit to B's family. Many of Cal's activities in the movie, and the reason no one else could see him, are explained by the fact that he is actually an If. The conclusion of If seems to have emotionally revitalized both B and Cal, thus a future reunion between the two would make sense. The movie's conclusion also shows that Invisible Keith has been B's father's If all along and has traveled to their house, suggesting that even B's father is cool with the concept of ifs. Even though B doesn't accompany her home, it's obvious that her influence is already starting to have a beneficial effect on the other ifs in If. The first if to be shown reconciling with their original folks is B's grandmother, who confirms that she remembers and can see Blossom. Characters like Unicorn and Ally get the chance to rejoin with their folks, while other minor characters are also revealed during the movie to be the original people for some of the ifs. The film's conclusion implies that the retired ifs will continue to return to their people rather than being paired with new children, even though not every if has the opportunity to be reunited with their original person. Benjamin, who was unable to see any of the other ifs, but is later discovered to have his own bespectacled dragon if, confirms this. Its conclusion implies that the ifs might find peace in spending some time with their original children again, as evidenced by Blue's obvious happiness in providing Jeremy a brief boost in self-assurance. Its conclusion may come as a surprise considering the first part of the movie. Calvin and Blue are trying to establish a relationship with a new child when B first meets them. It makes sense for the Ives to have a placement system, since it will provide them all a fresh opportunity to look for houses outside of the retirement community that old teddy bear Lewis built. Instead, the movie emphasizes how crucial it is to have a feeling of positive imagination even as an adult. B's time with the ifs demonstrates that this is the important lesson her father wants her to remember. When B and the other grown-ups get back together with their ifs, they appear to be truly happy. The movie's central idea is that kids like B and Benjamin may have, and then rediscover, their own unique ifs, proving that happiness and creativity don't have to be lost or passed down. It challenges the notion that the ifs need to find new homes, suggesting that they already have somewhere to go, in contrast to the expectations established at the beginning of the movie. Even though B, Calvin, and the other ifs' emotional journeys are concluded, the conclusion of If is mostly left open-ended. B would have an excellent opportunity to catch up with Calvin and the other ifs who are still living at the retirement community if she decided to visit her grandmother in New York City. But there are enough unanswered questions regarding the if universe that a sequel may be a fascinating idea. What happens to aging ifs and if they are actually forgotten are two unanswered questions. Blue shares his concerns that if he is completely forgotten by everyone, he might vanish. Calvin states that he doesn't think that's what happens to ifs, but it does bring up an interesting point on whether or not ifs can age or even pass away. Louis Gossett Jr., who played Louis, passed away. The best way to honor his memory would be to create a sequel that investigates what becomes of ifs and their mortality. A perfect environment to further investigate ifs focus on people maintaining their creativity even as they grow older is B's experience with the ifs, which may see her continuing to help them even after she graduates from high school. The conclusion of if serves as a reminder of the value of creativity and optimism, despite adversity and difficulty. Due in large part to her father's deteriorating health and the death of her mother, B is shown in the movie as being childlike. Louis persuades her that her imagination is still a useful tool, and Calvin and the other IFs assist in bringing this back. But the real enduring power of the if and human connection is only revealed when the movie reunites Blue with Jeremy and brings B's grandmother and Blossom back together for a short while. The underlying message of the conclusion of If is that people should never fully let go of the innocent fantasies that inspired the stories in the first place. Sometimes they're even necessary for adults. Attempts should be made to keep them safe. It's a really lovely moral that provides If with a compelling main lesson.